The latest innovation of general aviation are taking their course towards Friedrichshafen. And once the trade for show grounds and the surrounding streets have developed into a rolling airfield, so to say, then we know it's aero time again. Ladies and gentlemen, dear representatives from the media, a warm welcome here to the Media Day of the AERO Friedrichshafen 2025. Here on site in the city of Friedrichshafen at Lake Constance, and in parallel also a warm welcome to all our viewers from the stream that are still on the way but have joined us and listened to how we introduce our trade fair show. Tomorrow, the 31st, AERO is going to start officially, and we're delighted that you've shown up in such large numbers today already, because as of tomorrow, we'll have all the expert representatives from all around the globe joining, and general aviation is going to come to Friedrichshafen, highlighting all the news to come and the world's firsts. Now we're getting started with the Media Day, with talks of the industry and the press, and you'll get information about what the press and the industry are excelling in. And it's a show of novelties and world's first innovations. This is what we're going to showcase right afterwards in our guided tour, crossing the grounds right after the press conference. And we're getting started here now with the flight conditions that have been created. And we're going to discuss that with the project manager of the AERO, Tobias Breza from the Fermanic GmbH. And it's his third trade show, right, as a project manager. And in Friedrichshafen, we have this trade show long standing, so to say, and we're welcoming Klaus Wellmann, the CEO of Friedrichshafen, and Stefan Reisinger. These are the makers, so to say, of this show. And Tobias, let's tell us, together with the team, you've been traveling in Germany and abroad in the industry, come round in order to find the innovations. How was the approach to the AERO Friedrichshafen?
Also from me, a warm welcome. I'm looking a bit critically, but a bit seriously, but that's due to the sun. We've got the best weather conditions, actually, the best prerequisites for a successful aero trade show. So what was the approach like? I'd say it was creative and intensive. And never before have we had such intensive preparations in the past year for this year's event as for 2025. We cooperated with partners, with exhibitors. We dealt with them and their requirements and adapted our concept, our approach, and also how we structured the trade fair grounds for this show. In the upcoming days, we're going to see a lot of innovations, a lot of news.
In direct comparison with AERO 2024, what is the 2025, the 31st edition, so to say, in this year?
Well, very good, actually. It's a record aero trade show. It's grown once more, it's become even more international. And when I prepared this press conference, I had a look at my little cards from last year. I said that last year already, but the figures speak for themselves. This year we have an exhibitor record with around 760 exhibitors from 38 nations. Last year we had about 690 exhibitors. We have even more aircraft on site, gyrocopters, helicopters, and aircraft of all shapes and sizes, all represented here. Then here in Hall B5, we have, for example, more than 25 helicopters just in the Hall B5, in the helicopter hangar. And last but not least, it's also about the industry players who've joined us. We have some really big names on site, but also new exhibitors like Airbus helicopters and also the aviation representatives. Last but not least, I talked about the largest change, that's our Aero Business Aviation Show Hub, where we really have business aviation represented with a new concept. It's one of the biggest European lineups.
You talk about the concept and the lineup. Here we brought you an overview to show you the areas, the terrain, so to say, and you see with the figures that we needed some logistic precautions in order to get it ready. Let's take us on board. What happened here actually on the ground? What did you do in terms of preps?
Well, a lot has actually happened. In terms of organization, the AERO is extremely extensive in terms of logistics. In this form, it's only possible in Friedrichshafen because we have the unique setup that we have this modern trade fair ground directly next to the airfield, next to the airport, with an own taxiway. And you can see a lot here. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but you can see here, number one, we have the Aero Business Aviation Show. We have the Dome. That is a new hangar construction that is unique for the Aero, and we have 2,000 extra square meters where there's more space for the exhibitors, a modern stage. Then we also have the topic of opening up the trade fair grounds, because this year we have the largest lineup of business aviation aircraft at a trade show in Europe. We need so much space that we had to open the road that leads to the trade show, and we can use this road, and we also relocated some gates and also took down the fences so that we can use more space, and a lot has been done in terms of construction work to accommodate the size of the trade show.
You've heard that needed a lot of construction works. As we said before, it's not only on the ground, but also on the roofs, on the halls. Roofs, we have the largest solar panel construction here at Lake Constance. This is what's part of the trade show space here. It's a major step forward when we're talking about sustainability, but it's also one of the flagships of the GA, right? Because sustainability, is that a focus topic again?
Yes, absolutely. That's a focus topic. It's nothing new. We've been doing that for a long time already. The E-Flight Expo in Hall A7, we've been doing that for 15 years now, and it's more and more every year. It's the center of attention, sustainability, electric exhibitors at AERO. And this year we also have our own E-Flight Air Show on Thursday this week, around midday, where you will see electric planes in the air. And here today in room Berlin, we have the Hydrogen and Battery Summit. That is going to start, I think, at 1:30 p.m. That will take all day tomorrow as well, with a great selection of speakers. And sustainability is not only part of Hall A7, but actually in all 12 trade show halls. Also, the visibility of the exhibitors is important to see that they're dealing with sustainability. So we have the AERO Sustainable Aviation Trail. Then this year, today, for the start, we for the first time have the Additive Manufacturing Summit in aerospace. That is production processes, 3D printers. That will be in the Conference Center West for aero exhibitors and journalists. And then, of course, our young talents and the career show, the Aero Career Days. That will be on the 11th and 12th of April.
Okay, let's look into the future briefly. 4 days, maybe. For decades, we've raised the question, and this is also the question that comes up. What's the future for this trade show?
Yes, what's next? That is always a big topic for us. We've seen now where the path is going, upwards. And before this year's Aero 2025, we already thought about next year. How are we going to continue? What are our plans? And as a result, we have new exhibitors and old exhibitors that are booking or will be able to book their spaces earlier. Right directly after this year's Aero, it will be possible to already book the spaces for 2026. So early planning is possible, but it's also important that we think about where we can get more space from for all these aircraft that are going to come in the future. And here with our partners, the airport Friedrichshafen, we are already in discussion that for 2026, we can perhaps also have an exhibition space in the airport area. We want to become more international. Of course, everybody wants to become more international, but specifically here in Friedrichshafen, we want to have more international visitors, spectators, and also with our satellite locations. We're starting with AERO in Friedrichshafen chronologically, but we have 2 other AEROs. At the end of June, we will be in South Africa, and for the second time in the south of China, in Shanghai, we are going to have the AERO Asia at the beginning of November 25.
So much from the organizational point of view in introducing the trade show. Are there questions on your side regarding that setup? If that's not the case, I'd say you're going to be with us for the whole day, right? And we can get in touch. So part 1 of this press conference is then finished, and I'm having the pleasure to hand over to Kate Brinkert. She is the author of Sustainability Development and Director European Safety and Sustainability, and she is working for Gamma. I'm talking about the industry development and general aviation. Welcome on stage, Kate.
Thank you very much. My German is very poor, so I will do my best in English or in French if anyone asks. I can do that too. All right, so I work for Gamma. For those of you who don't know, Gamma is the General Aviation Manufacturers Association. We have a branch that is based in Brussels, and our role is to represent the general aviation manufacturers within towards the industry, and but also between the manufacturers. And we're also working on trying to grow our sector, grow the sustainability of our sector, and kind of look at the future of what is happening. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what we do every year, the Gamma State of the Industry. I won't be taking questions at the end because tomorrow our new CEO President, James Viola, will be giving a more thorough run through of the slides and more details about the data. Should you have any questions, feel free to come afterwards and I can tell you who from our team can reply to your questions. But for today, it will have to be short and quick, and I'll try to make it enjoyable. So this is about time for us to show what the general aviation sector is made of. We're not just aircraft flying. We're not just people loving the sky. We're more than that. We're a sector that is the incubator of technologies. We're the sector that is the first responders on territorial issues or environmental challenges, but also medical supplies or charters all around the world. And we are the advocate for this. We need to tell more about those stories in the future. And it's kind of also on our press audience to do that work with us. We need to tell those numbers. We need to share what we're actually doing in Europe, but also around the world. Every year, Gamma gathers the numbers for shipments and billings. You can see here a few numbers that I've put here on the slide so you can have an idea of what's happening. What's interesting on this one is that the biggest takeaway of 2024 is that first, billings have exceeded 30 billion, but also this is the first year in a row that the industry has eclipsed 4,000 aircraft delivered. So for the fourth time, we have eclipsed those 4,000 deliveries. So the sector is doing good, and this is important that we share those numbers. I also wanted to really quickly flag what are the hot topics for us at Gamma, but also with other associations that we work with. What are the topics that we're talking about in Europe? What are our priorities? We go from data. We need data in Europe. We're missing data. We don't know how many flight hours we have. So we don't know what is the safety levels we have. We don't have those information. So we need to collaborate all together to get those data. And we're working very close with EASA to try to understand better our sector to be able to improve its safety. And then access to fuel. Oh, please don't make me go there. But yes, access to fuel. Walter de Rogier, right here in the audience, is our gamma expert for avgas. Please go to Walter with any questions you might have. But also all the new propulsions and innovation that are being created. How are we going to certify those? And also, how are we going to make it work to all work together, all fly together, the airspaces, and all those complications that will come with innovation and new things. We are ready for those challenges. Rule simplification, and that is what we're doing right now in that room over there. There is a meeting with the EASA, with all the general aviation representatives, talking about how can we simplify the rulemaking? How can we make it more accessible, more understandable, and therefore more safer? And then business aviation, because it's the hot topic for this AERO. We do have a fantastic business aviation section, and congratulations to the entire AERO team because it looks fantastic. So I wanted to show you the three big topics that we are tackling with GAMA and with the authorities, emphasizing, I just went for that pronunciation, emphasizing the critical role of general and business aviation as an enabler of competitiveness and economic development. You will see further, my colleague Peter Martin on Thursday will be presenting an economic impact study that we did with GAMA and EBA to understand better what is it that business aviation is bringing to the table. What are all the factors that we are bringing for competitiveness in Europe, and why is this important that we support the sector? Availability of staff and recognition of booking claim, strengthening relation with regulators. So for the economic impact study, it's about numbers, it's about understanding what is the impact of business aviation in the European sector, but it's also a little bit more provocative than that. We go further and we kind of analyze what is the impact of the restrictions that we see in the Netherlands, in France, a little bit in Germany. So all those restrictions and rules that are being put together, what is the impact? If they go through, if it happens, what is the impact on our sector, but also on the economy of an entire region and continent? And I think that was the quickest I could do for the state of the industry, but feel free to attend tomorrow at 11:30 at the Business Aviation Dome. They will be going through a little bit deeper into the data and a little bit more deeper into questions and answers, so feel free to join that part. Another fun part for me, I am so honored to be moderating the panel that will be followed, that will follow this discussion. The panel is made of incredible women who have inspired most of us who know them, but especially me. So let me start with Lindsay Allman, Vice President of Marketing for Blackhawk Aerospace Group. And please give a hand to Lindsay, please. Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. Catherine Kaiser, pilot of an AA5, Grumman traveler and inspirational explorer of the sky. Melanie Assel, a great friend, CEO of Airmail, international aerobatic pilot and air racing pioneer, motivational speaker, brand ambassador, and more. And last but not least, Susan Ying, passionate leader to make sustainable flight a reality. Thank you very much for joining. I'm going to go to my seat. All right. So everyone has a mic next to them. Feel free to use it. And let's go for it. Yep. All right. So we know that most of us in the aviation sector have some sort of extraordinary path, or there's a story behind it. Like I love to say, we're not in the fridge sector. We are in the flying aircraft sector. We fly things in the sky. And so I want to know, what is the extraordinary journey that you went through? What is the factor, the thing that made you choose aviation, but also kind of what is the moment where you realize you wanted to be in that sector? And we can start with you, Lindsay, if you want.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Lindsay Allman, Vice President of Marketing at the Blackhawk Group. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited to be here. My path in aviation really started from the beginning, from the time I was born. Both my parents have been in aviation for their entire careers, so I've been around the industry for many, many years. I won't age myself, but you know, growing up, being that my parents were in aviation for their entire careers, and they had built a very successful business, I was very adamant going through college that I didn't want anything to do with aviation. I didn't want to be in the industry. I didn't want to certainly didn't want to work at Blackhawk. Didn't want to have the assumption by anybody that I was given the position that I have now grown into. And so I was very adamant. I didn't want to do aviation. I wanted to make my own name. I didn't want to ride on any coattails. And then, you know, coming out of college, I step back. I went to Oshkosh as a teenager with my parents. They needed some help at the trade show, so went to Oshkosh and really was exposed to the industry there firsthand. I'd heard the stories and everything through my parents, but was exposed firsthand about 16 years old at Oshkosh and saw the camaraderie that exists in this community and all the friendships and relationships that are built in this community, and was really inspired by that at 16. I was still, you know, very stubborn going through college, and I don't want to be in aviation. I don't want to, you know, be Jim Ullman's daughter. I want to be my own person. And as luck would have it, whenever I graduated, my first job that I got was at an avionics manufacturer, and so I ended up in the aviation industry. Anyways, and then once I got there, it was I've absolutely fell in love with it. Just the relationships and the people that you meet. It's something that's truly extraordinary to general aviation, business aviation, and that, you know, I think when I was thinking of a defining moment, I couldn't think of just one. It's really kind of redefined and re-emphasized for me every time that we get together at events like this or Oshkosh or things of that nature. Just the relationships that you build and the friendships that you build that will truly last a lifetime are what really ignite my passion for the industry.
Thank you, Lindsay. And it highlights how much of the AERO career event that is taking place here, but also everything that's being done for the young generation, the young professionals, diversity, inclusion, everything that is being done within this type of air show is so vital for the future of our sector. Thank you very much. Catherine, would you share that your experience with us about like how you got into aviation and the passion? And I know it's a bit different for you because it started 5 years ago, and you're now this extraordinary rock star of general aviation. So would you tell us a little bit more about how the passion has driven you to where you are today, but also like what is kind of, you know, a turning point for you in this?
Okay, I try my best in English. My name is Katrin Kaiser, and yes, 5 years ago I was a show jumper on horses and never have contact with airplanes. And then I got a sightseeing flight for my birthday, and from this moment my life completely changed. And now I have 1,300 something flight hours, and I travel over 4 continents and 42 countries, and USA is only one country. And it's, yeah, this step in the aviation changed my life completely. And also, I think to become a pilot makes me also to a better person. My life, like checklists, is more structured, and also I can be a role model for my kids to teach them to be more focused on a goal or forever orientation. But yeah, when I had this sightseeing fly, and the pilot started the engine, and I got my butterflies in the stomach. It was incredible, and from this moment, I never want.
You knew. You knew. So that first flight changed your perspective and kind of changed your life. Just being in an aircraft, feeling the engine, you knew that was something that would be bigger than just a 1 hour flight. It would change your life.
Before I got my license, I bought my plane. Because this charter system I don't like. I want to have my own plane. And yeah, I did a lot of education in the last years, and yeah, but...
And we'll talk more about education and what this amazing group does for young people and association support. And Melanie, I know your story by heart because I was following you before we became friends, and you have an incredible story. You started from scratch and you knew what you wanted, you went for it. So tell us a little bit more about how passion has driven you there.
Yeah, exactly, Kate. First of all, I'm really happy to be here and to be able to talk about my story. So my story started as a little girl with a dream, and a dream broken by the adults. And I couldn't understand this world in which I was living, where I couldn't fulfill my dreams. Basically, I had no money. I was good at school, but very early I quit school because I was disappointed about not being able to live my dreams. But when I was a kid and until 14 years old, when I had the surgery, I was bullied. So everybody was laughing at me, and the planes were a way for me to just be a bit away from all of that. So I used to have a lot of models of aircraft, and I used to fly them around. I would dream of being a fighter pilot, and I would close my eyes and imagine so many times about my dream. And I often say, I think the epiphany comes from the movie The Never-Ending Story. Don't know if you remember. It's the story of a little boy who's bullied, and then he goes away and he locks himself in a room with a book, and he flies all around the world on this dragon, across the mountains, the beautiful landscapes. And then I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. I want to fly all over the place, all over the world, fast and with a lot of adrenaline. And this is how basically my dream started. And also going to an air show, seeing planes flying. And I think it's important that also we protect the air shows, because they are having more and more problems at the moment with economical, environment. And it's also, the air show is the entry to our dreams and to start a career in aviation. Because one engine alone is just an engine flying with a pilot and an aircraft around is like magic. So, yeah, so basically I worked in petrol station for 7 years. When I quit school at 18, I became a petrol station employee and then a manager. And I did that for 7 years, and then it's a long story of dedication and determination. And every day now I wake up in the morning with a big smile because I'm living my dream, and being here in AERO all week will be a pleasure. So I'm here all week with my plane in A4, so if you want to come and see, it's a pleasure.
And you will be flying on Saturday.
And I'll be flying the air show, yeah, also. I hope so,
Yeah.
yes.
And also, Melanie just landed. She just landed at 10 a.m. So believe me, as the moderator and for the AERO team, we're like, okay, let's do this, like weather permitting, she will arrive. So thank you very much for that flight.
Thank you.
All right, Susan, would you want to share with us how you started? And you have a great career through aviation. You went through different kind of companies, but it's always about innovation, and you have to have that little seeds of passion to get to that innovation. So could you share with us how it has impacted your career, and the choice you have made through that career how are they based on passion, and how did that happen for you?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me here and together with all these amazing ladies. My story started when I was a little kid, like a lot of them. And I was born in Taiwan and grew up there. And then my father had to move to Indonesia to work. So during a period of time, my mother was in Taiwan, my father was in Indonesia, and me and my brother, the two little kids, would have to go between the two places, and they're like thousands of miles apart or kilometers apart, and so you have to fly to be the most efficient transportation. And of course, my mom was one place, she didn't want to go to Indonesia. My father was at Indonesia, didn't have time to go back, and so it was just me taking my brother traveling. And at the point, we were little, and my brother was this cute little boy, and so we flew from A to B, but back then there was no direct flight. And so we would land in places and go to other places. Such a really amazing journey. But most interestingly, because my brother was real cute, and so they, when we got on the airplane, they would take my brother into the cockpit and show him things. And while I say, well, can I go too? Can I go too? And they say, oh, no, that's not a place for girls. And I was thinking, why not? They said, oh, you shouldn't bother with those things. And I was always thinking, gosh, there must be some magic going on in the cockpit. You know, the whole airplane is so big, so heavy. How can we just magically go up in the air and then it would fly for so long, you know, thousands of kilometers? And so I said, I wish someday I could go in there, I could find out how to do this flight thing, you know.
You should probably say thank you to them now because they pushed you to do it.
Well,
they
so
challenged you.
actually, at the time, I just felt, okay, that was something that I couldn't do because I was a girl. And so it wasn't until later on, and you know, it never really occurred to me to become a pilot or to become a pilot or to learn engineering or something so that I could be in the industry, be in the field. Until I was in college, and of course, my chosen major was in fine arts and then architecture, so I could at least support myself, as my father told me. And so it wasn't until the second year, after the second year, I was still, you know, that major was just not good for me. So I bought myself a bicycle. And then, you know, I was riding around, and I accidentally passed by this airport. And it was, you know, after an hour's ride or something. And there was a little flight school there. And I said, oh, a flight school. So I went in there. Anyway, long story short, I met this very nice flight instructor. He was the only guy there, a very old man. And so, first of all, I asked him, I said, can I learn how to fly? You know, I'm a girl. He says, of course. And then, you know, it was stupid that I was thinking that way. And then he says, oh, do you know how to speak English? Obviously. You know how to read English? And, you know, you can read and write. And, yeah, you're in. Because, you know, at the time I was going to Cornell University, which is kind of nearby. And so I said, well, I want to sign up. I want to learn how to fly, you know, such big airplanes and so on. He says, yeah, you can start here. And so I said, I want to fly today, right now. And then he says, oh, one other thing. You have to pay me some money because, you know, we need money to operate, right?
It goes with it.
Yeah, it goes with it to burn the fuel and avgas and all that. And so I said, oh, well, that's what I don't have because, you know, after 2 years, I didn't even have a major declared. And now I'm going to ask my father for money to learn how to fly. He's going to kill me. So I turned around and was walking towards the door. And I think he saw how disappointed I was, because I was so excited when he said that I could learn how to fly there. And so he says, well, maybe we could exchange, you know, you work for me by washing those airplanes, you see those airplanes outside, and, you know, do some work here, and then we can do that in exchange. It's like, you know, 10 hours of working for one lesson. So I signed up, and that's how I started to fly. But the most important thing was that, you know, the whole summer I only got like 5 lessons, because, you know, 50 hours. But the main thing was that it's not just the flying itself, the pilotage itself, it's the amazing machines, you know, so how the airplane could get the lift and, you know, go up in the sky. And so all of that, the theoretical part or the ways that the airplane works and all that, I can learn in school. So that's how I signed up in school, you know, in the university to learn. And beyond that, you know, it's kind of history, because then I went on and worked for NASA and went for Boeing and all these, you know, amazing companies. And after I retired from Boeing and Comac, I came back because I was trying to recruit a young man for Boeing, working at Boeing in 2009. I came back to the U.S. in 2017 and met this young man again. He recruited me because, you know, someone told me that I absolutely have to see him. And anyhow, it was just an amazing journey. And so I think the flight and all the amazing things, innovations that happen in the industry, I think I'm just so attracted, so inspired by that. And I'm still in it after 3 retirements.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And that's an incredible journey again. And I think that's what's it's kind of extraordinary when you go through the halls in the next few days and you ask people, hey, how did you start your journey in aviation? Usually there's some crazy story about it, and that's incredible. And for the press, it's also those are stories that we want to share. And I want to jump on, because there are a few topics that we want to tackle. We have a few time left. Catherine, I want to start with you on the topic. we're talking about challenges that GA is facing, and there are multiple, but I wanted to talk about the challenges with you, because you know what a good challenge is. Catherine here went over the Atlantic by herself in a single piston aircraft multiple times. Just got your multi-engine rating. So, I mean, we're talking about challenges here, but I would love to have your point of view on what are to you, 2 or 3 challenges for general aviation right now.
For general aviation, I would say I see 3 points. Maybe the first is the hard discussion sometimes with the arguments against our footprint, what we do.
The environment.
The second is the AFGAS situation. And the third, I think, it's we don't have enough young eagles, so new people in the aviation, young people, maybe because of the money. For the first, I have to say I flew over volcanoes in Iceland, and later I learned how much they spit in the atmosphere. What I think our beautiful planet Earth can very good handle the general aviation, and all the new companies, they build electric planes or engines who need lesser AFGAS, so it helps.
Innovation in the propulsion.
Yes,
and all
there's always a process in this sustainable business. The second, the AFGAS situation, I know from Total Energy, for example, they have not only sustainable
Sustainable aviation fuel, SAF?
Aviation fuel, but also they have exclusively, they work with products with raw material from Europe. So step by step, the business changed in this heading, but also for me as an adventure pilot, who comes in areas on this world there is no AFGAS available. That is for me a hard part in preparation. Sure. Or change my routes or organize special solutions.
And kind of put together the fact that we love flying, but we also love to find solutions for the environment.
Yes,
and so those are compatible,
always.
and who better than us to try to find solutions?
Not to fly is not the solution.
Well, exactly.
And the third, I think we have to bring more young people in aviation.
Yep.
When you look on the average in the age, it's so much older this time than 20 years ago, maybe. Maybe it's a point on the money, that they have not so much money for the education and the flying hours or something, but we can help. And
True. And it goes together. When we talk about innovation, we're doing a lot of work today, but we also know that clearly it's the next generation that will have to do the hard part of the work. And
as a mom, I see each day the kids has another focus this time than the kids 20 years before. They are more on the PlayStation than outside playing. So that's sad. But
thank you very much, Catherine. And Lindsay, I want to go towards you for another type of question where we know that, we've been talking about GA being the playground for innovation and, being the place where we are the incubator and we are building those innovations that will be used afterwards in airlines and in the aviation with a big A. So I was wondering if you could share with us kind of an update on Blackhawk and the performance improvement that are being built within the company.
Sure. So, you mentioned collaboration amongst different partners, and of course, within the Blackhawk group, we collaborate with our friends at Finoff Aviation, at AVEX Aviation, and there are a lot of synergies and collaborations that happen within the Blackhawk group itself. Outside of the Blackhawk group, we always collaborate with, of course, our friends at Pratt & Whitney Canada, our friends at Hartzell Propeller, MT Propeller, Garmin, Collins, the list goes on. But the more recent updates that I have as far as performance improvement, specifically out of Blackhawk, we're working to certify the TBM 700 C2 with a higher horsepower engine upgrade. So we're expecting that announcement to come through, that STC to come through around Oshkosh. So that's one innovation that you can look forward to hearing about. Otherwise, we just recently certified the MT 7-blade propeller on the King Air 350 with Blackhawk's 67A upgrade. So that announcement came across about a month ago. And then we're right now working to certify the Hartzell 5-blade composite propeller with the 67A on the King Air 350 upgrade as well. So those are some of the more recent announcements. We also recently certified the Collins Fusion with the XB67A engine upgrade so that the avionics system and the engines can talk to each other and work together very well. Those are some of the recent announcements that we've come out with and some of the innovations that we're looking to announce in the next couple of months.
And I think that's incredible. That's incredible to see that it goes from the prop to the structure to the engine, and it's actually all those collaboration between our own sector that will make it grow in the right direction. So thank you for sharing those information. And I'm going to jump on collaboration because, Melanie, that's a big part of what you do. Your role is to inspire as much as you can. And I wanted to learn a little bit more from you. How is it important? Those collaboration that we see in the industry, they're also vital for the general aviation sector, not only for innovation, but also for this inspirational work for the young generation. And how has it impacted your work to have those collaboration? How has it helped you to continue your career and what you do with aerobatic?
For sure, the situation is quite challenging at the moment, and even though the numbers are good, but I think it's important that we all work together, the technical part, the pilot part, and my role in the ecosystem is kind of to be the person who makes the people dream, and I love promoting the brands with who I work and try and, I mean, when a manufacturer is selling a plane, I think in the end, you're not really selling a plane, you're selling a dream, or you're selling an adventure. And I think mainly, last week I was in another exhibition with very technical parts of aviation, and I think it's important to, each actor was explaining to me their product, but in a very technical way. And I think I'm here as a very pragmatical person, and I like to, when I explain about a product or a brand, I like to explain like if it was a 12-year-old kid, because I think the deciders, the people who are going to buy the products, sometimes they don't have a lot of time, and you need to go to something simple. And another thing, it's, for example, I work with Michelin. They like it because it's very easy to use what I do to highlight their product. And I think communication and marketing is also a very important part in the environment also, and showing that the whole sector is doing big efforts. Because another example, I have a little four-seat plane, which is an experimental plane. And I went from south of France to Munich, 3 hours of flight, maybe 65 liters of unleaded fuel. Nothing can beat that. I mean, it's on the environment side. And then people think because we fly a plane, we are polluting. But in the end, we need to educate also, and this goes through a lot of communication. So we all need to work together and make aviation, well, give it really what it deserves, because I really get hurt when people are saying aviation is bad. Aviation is a lot of employment, a lot of works, a lot of the ecosystem is bringing a lot. But also, I would like to say a last thing. There's a moment I lived last year in Serbia, I will never forget of my life. I did an air show over there, and I landed, and there was a lot of little girls. And there's one little girl, which she took me in her arms, and she started crying. She was so emotional about what she's just seen, and she said, I want to become a pilot. And this is why I know what I'm doing. I'm delivering emotions. I'm not flying an air show, I'm not doing communication, I'm just delivering emotions to the people. And I think that's the main thing.
And thank you very much, Melanie. And you are also an ambassador for AVIO, the aviation, association that supports diversity and inclusion in the European aviation sector. And you've taken that flag and show how important it is in our side of the world, how important it is to support young generation, but also a diverse sector and an inclusive sector. And this is incredible that you continue with that passion. And I'm going to continue switch because the four of you have such incredible path and such different background that I'm trying to navigate in between all your expertise. And Suzanne, I want to spend a moment here to talk about, innovation, new technologies, new propulsion. You came from Emper. You now work with ANG, and you were working on an aircraft that is fully electric propulsed. And so could you tell us a little bit more about how this innovation is shaping the future?
Sure. That is my passion, the future of sustainable aviation. In fact, just now we heard from the previous panelists, Catherine and so on, that we are leaving this footprint right now. Particularly in aviation, we're generating close to 1 ton of 1 ton. That's 900 some million tons of carbon dioxide every year. I mean, some people say, oh, it's only 2 to 3% of the overall carbon dioxide of the Earth. But that's a lot, 1 ton. And so we got to do something about it, particularly, as we're seeing the climate crisis is approaching. We have the extreme weather patterns and so on. So we cannot keep contributing to that crisis. So the fact that we have the electric aviation or hybrid electric aviation, all the innovation is not only helping to clean up our acts, to help save us from a really terrible path there, but also the fact is, currently in aviation, to having to pay for the fuel and the maintenance in the airplane is very, very expensive hobby. If you do it for a hobby, not for a profession. For a profession as well, to become a pilot, you have to train and so on. That's a huge investment. So with electric aviation, for example, that actually cuts down all the operating costs up to 90%. So if it's like 100 euros for a flight lesson, for paying for the fuel and service, now it will be like, 10 to 20 euros. So that's a humongous difference. So the affordability aspect and also the environmental aspect is extremely advanced, extremely beneficial to us. So we have to gradually or quickly get out of the avgas also because of course, the lead that's in the fuel. But coming to the innovation, you will see in, I think, particularly Hall A7 and all throughout the show, there's lots of innovation that's going on, particularly in general aviation, because in terms of the technologies for electric aviation, I think we're the cusp of these improvement of the energy density for the batteries and also for hydrogen fuel cells and so on. So it's very exciting to see this change, and in our industry we call it the third revolution. Since the Wright brothers first flew the powered flight. And so it's incredible that we can go on this path and make really great positive contribution to the mankind as opposed to just the environmental negative impacts.
Thank you very much. And I agree with you. We need to go towards new innovation and we need to see what are the options that we have. And we talk about electricity, we talk about hydrogen, and this is very exciting to see. We talked about SAF earlier. But also I would say a point that, the general aviation sector, the classic sector of functioning with fuel, and they're also enabler of this. And saying aviation is bad is also jeopardizing those innovation, those evolutions. And this is because the general aviation sector is pushing innovation that it's possible. And so I think it's very relevant that we go towards that and we work as a sector with innovation, with classic technologies that will push towards new technologies. But this is a dynamic that should work together, and I think that's very important. We work a lot on this working together part with Gamma, and I'm very proud to advocate for that. And we only have a little bit more than 5 minutes left. Well, 5 minutes, thank you, Volker. So I want to check with the room if you have any questions for those outstanding panelists. If you have questions that you want to ask later, it's also possible, but feel free right now if you have questions to show your hand. Good old way. Volker, do you have question online? Because yes, we're live streamed.
We have one question online, and it's from freelance journalist Stefan Müller, and he asked that there are more and more projects for pilotless aircraft. Do the aviation sector loses the passion with autonomous flying?
Oh, goodness, no. And does anyone wants to reply? So pilotless flying, is it a show that there is less passion, more for technology, less for the flying pilot, human angle?
Not in my world.
Oh.
I think there's a place for that, particularly as you see in the conflicts around the world, Ukraine, Russia, and so on. So the drones and pilotless airplanes, because you don't want to send human beings into the conflict, and you lose lives. And so for combat fighting, I think the pilotless airplanes have a huge place to be. I'm not advocating war, but I think if you had to fight a war, I'd rather have pilotless airplanes in there. And another thing is that, for going to fire rescue, for example.
I like that example better.
You also don't want to send the pilot to the harm's way, right? So that's another good place. And also, another thing that's very interesting is in terms of cargo, there could be a lot of commerce, a lot of money made in really helping with the economics. And so having the pilotless drones delivering things in the last mile, especially for some very sparse populated area right now, and I think that will be a good one, because you send pilots there, it's very expensive and so on, but limited, I think.
Yeah. Lindsay?
Yeah, I think that, pilots, I'm sure many of you in this room are pilots. I think that pilots are a very uniquely passionate kind of person. And I don't think that type of person disappears just because we introduce pilotless aircraft. In fact, I think that there are maybe other individuals who would be passionate about working with those pilotless aircraft that maybe aren't so passionate about flying the aircraft themselves. So I think that, like I said, and to Melanie's story earlier about the little girl that she met and that she had inspired, I think that pilots will always be born and will always exist. And I think that, it may even introduce a whole new group of people to the aviation industry who are more interested in operating pilotless aircraft.
I agree with you. And I would just to highlight that part where I think aviation is a very, very diverse sector where there is engineering, and I'm pretty sure we could do, this is about, general aviation and in general, but we could do a panel with passionate engineers, passionate technician. We could do a panel with passionate CEOs. Goodness, you should see, CEOs in our sector are all flying together because they all love aircraft. And so this is what drives the sector, and this is what you will see, I agree 100% with what you're saying, where pilotless aircraft, they are right now being created for multiple reasons that Susan mentioned, and they will drive more passionate people. It's not about the pilot, it's about the passion that's behind it and what will be pushed in that direction at that moment. Any other questions? Perfect, because I think we have 2 minutes left, so we're trying to be on time. Thank you so much. Would you help me finish this panel by just saying a few words? And I'm saying we have 2 minutes, and they're right there watching us. We should stop in 2 minutes. So could you give me a few words just to finish this panel with me. Susan?
Well, I think the future is electric, and general aviation is sustainable aviation.
Well, thank you, Susan. Melanie?
I would say that the world is changing a lot since maybe a year or two. There's also all the AI. I would kind of say let's stay human in all of this and keep the smile on.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. Catherine?
Yeah, I also would say we all know the sky has no limits or border, but the planes, the physics, and especially the paperwork definitely have it. I like to be in the plane and have the goosebumps during my flights, and I really want also in the future share my passion with my passengers, with kids, which I do more than 100 times flights with kids. That's the best part in my aviation, and yeah, and keep smiling and flying.
Keeping that smile. Lindsay?
Yeah, I think that the future of aviation is very exciting. I think that being in the aviation industry right now is a very exciting point in history where we're looking at these different technologies. We're innovating in ways that we never have before. The industry is growing. Our companies are growing. All the youth initiatives that we're seeing being pushed forward. I think it's a really exciting time in history to be a part of this really unique and wonderful sector.
Thank you very much. And I would finish by thanking the four of you for this amazing moment. We could be definitely talking the entire day if it was up to me. Thank you very much for sharing. Let's continue to share. Let's continue to collaborate. And I'm sure I'll see you around this week. And I will give the floor back to Frank and Volker. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Lindsay, Katrin, Melanie, Susan, and of course, Kate, for a great hosting. I think we got some inspiring insights here. And this was part one of our media day. And I'm switching into German because you're still wearing your headsets. Wir machen mit dem zweiten Teil weiter.
We will continue with the second part, that is our tour of the AERO. I think I don't have to introduce myself to too many people, but for those who are here for the first time, this is Volker Tormanner. He's a freelance journalist, and he is an expert, an aviation expert. He has been consulting us all year with the novelties, innovations that he has created, and it's difficult for us, the innovative power of the industry. Yes, it was really difficult to choose, actually. There were so many world's first innovations, European innovations, German innovations and premieres as in the last 20 years. So we had to choose a few projects. That was really tricky. We have one change that I have to announce. We wanted to see the Airbus helicopter 160. We cannot have a look at it because there's an EOG situation. It wasn't able to start. It's being repaired, and it will arrive sometime this week. So we hope they can repair it quickly, that we can see it in the next few days. Okay, what does this means? Of course, take a handout with you. Those are the trending topics at this AERO trade show. And it definitely makes sense to follow the team, the people with the sign, AERO, follow me, and take your headsets with you so you can listen to the whole guided tour. We will start in Hall A7. We will go across the whole trade fair grounds, and we will end back here. So feel free to take your stuff with you. It's a bit cold outside despite the sun, and we will end our guided tour here with lunch if you have time. So let's get started.